Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Reach Podcast Show. You've reached another episode. We have some special guests in the studio this morning, which is talking about a subject that's become even more dear to my heart just this morning after receiving a phone call. But we have the members of the Houston Peace. I'll let them introduce themselves in just a minute. But today we're going to give you a lot of information on one of the initiatives that's kicking off through the mayor's office and what we're doing in regards to trying to reduce violence amongst our youth, promote peace amongst our youth, and just really put our kids in a situation to where they can learn to work together and be a little bit more productive. But I would like for you guys, I want to say thank y'all for joining me this morning. Again, welcome to the Reach Podcast Show. But we'll start with you, Ms. Steph. Go ahead and introduce them and let them know who you are.
Well, my name is Stephanie Colligan Ishola, and I'm the Community Involvement Coordinator with Houston Peace.
Hey, I'm Paul Johnson with the Bureau of Youth and Adolescent Health, part of the Houston Health Department, and I am a program manager for a program called Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design, or CEPTED for short.
Okay. And what I like to do is just read off three of the goals that y'all set as priority, with Houston Peace, and then you can talk about, how I got started or whatever the case may be, so the listeners can get a better understanding. But the number one goal is prevent youth violence. Number two, promote youth health. And then number three, provide youth opportunities, which of course that encompasses a lot of different things that go on here in the city and opportunities that y'all can provide for them. But I guess, Ms. Stephanie, talk about how it came to fruition and, the startup of Houston Peace.
Well, first of all, Houston Peace, even before the mayor came into office, we know that youth violence is very real in our communities, and part of Cities United, which is a national grassroots organization to reduce violence and homicide among African American communities, but as a whole, all communities, and especially communities of colors,
right,
because we have the highest rates of death and homicide, being at an all-time high.
Right.
So in 2011, mayors came together, approximately, 80 from different cities, and Houston is one of the largest cities, in our nation.
Amongst
and so,
us.
right.
Mm-hmm.
And so Mayor Turner got on board with the other mayors and myself, Paul, and my other team members. We traveled, under a Roadmap Academy to address those issues of structural violence, violence in the school system, among families and a population as a whole. And pretty much after doing that traveling and pretty much getting a lot of evidence-based approaching, strategic planning, we were able to map out, our strategic plan, and we're in the phase right now of the implementation stage of that.
Okay.
So we received a grant from CDC, Center of Disease Control, Grant 1605, out of Atlanta, and part of the grant was also to come up with a strategic plan for the city of Houston. What we looked at was that we worked in collaboration with the Houston Police Department, and we got statistics on which parts of Houston had the most violence. So we took those and we tried to figure out what is it that we needed and how we make sure that we serve those priority points. We don't like to call them target areas because that's a negative connotation. A lot of our kids are targeted anyway. So what we want to do is go from a situation where our youth are being targeted to where we see them as priority in the city, because they're 100% of our now and they're also 100% of our future. And that's one of the things that we try to focus on. So we came up with these strategic plans basically by saying, what is it that kids want? What is it that they need?
Needs-based assessments.
Yeah, needs-based assessments. And a lot of times, I think that we try to make, come up with programs for youth based on what we think they should have,
right,
as opposed to what they need.
Yeah.
So one of the priority projects for us was to go out and reach out to students that were already in schools and basically ask them what they needed. One of the biggest things that they wanted to do is they wanted to feel safe.
Right.
We don't need a big lengthy explanation. Goal one, prevent youth violence.
Yeah.
That was just that simple.
Yeah.
Goal two, promote youth health. they have to be safe, they have to be healthy.
Right.
So that means we address things like food deserts and infrastructure and what have you. The last thing is provide youth opportunity. We talk about violence in specific neighborhoods, correct? So one of the reasons for violence is the lack of resources or the lack of money.
Mm-hmm.
What am I going to do? I'm going to go out there and I'm going to try to do whatever I could do to get money, to create an opportunity for myself.
Right.
A lot of times, unfortunately, that opportunity is a negative way of reaching that. So why not reach out to these different people and find out a way that we could create youth opportunity within our own neighborhood, within our schools, within our local facilities, which is why from Houston Peace, we also have a Youth Violence Prevention Coalition. That's a coalition of organizations and local people all over the city of Houston that all come together to figure out how we can best fulfill these goals with our youth.
And that's what I want to speak of, and I'm not mistaken. That was the last meeting that I was at,
It
right?
was, yeah.
Exactly. And so, for the listeners, what this meeting looks like is you taking the time out and showing up and giving simple input. You know, that's what it looks like for me, because that was my first time, and I'm listening, and it's nothing dramatic. It's nothing in full detail. It kind of goes back to what you're saying. Just talk about what's needed. You know, what do you see in your area that's needed? What would you like to have happen? You know, even bring your students out, maybe possibly, you know, to give even further information to where we, as the people that are doing groundworks to implement things like this, can have a better understanding of what's going on. So, you know, I just promote the opportunity for people to come out and be a part of that community, because that's what y'all are asking for people to show up and be a part of this whole movement. So I was honored to be there this last time, and, you know, I got the information for the next meeting. And so it's very important that the community takes the same steps that we take as organizations and as nonprofits and as people that are trying to help, because like I was telling the people in the second meeting that took place that day, is that, you know, I'm looking at all these higher ups, you know what I'm saying, and they're giving all strategic plans and, you know, talking about things that obviously have to happen, but it starts at the bottom, because everybody up top is getting their information from someone like myself, who is doing what we call the grassroots work, you know, that are hands-on and getting all the information back to the people that can organize things like this. So I appreciate you inviting me out to that meeting, because that was very important, and it was kind of a mind-altering thing in regards to the things that have to happen. So, Ms. Stephanie, tell people your new position with the city and what you do and how this implements into the Houston Peace and the area codes that you're in.
Okay, yes, Laura. And with Paul, my colleague, I'm going to interject on that. As far as community and our priority zip codes, we do have those areas that have been already identified.
Yeah.
And that is 77035, which is our Gulfton area, 36, the Sharpstown area, and then we also have Sunnyside, which is 51, the zip code 53, which is Herm Park, and then we have A-Leaf, which is 72, and then Acres Homes, which is 88.
Yeah.
And the reason why these areas are really have a lens on them critically is because today, as we speak, youth are still getting injured. We had a incident happen in our city 2 weeks ago, where a student was just driving in a car and someone shot at him, but I found out that that youth is recovering and is doing fine.
That's good.
So we need people to be involved, because the community, and that's part of my task, is to be transparent, you know, in the neighborhoods, in the community, to have town hall meetings, to have public speaking engagements, to just get feedback, you know, from our community members, our civic groups, our city leaders. We need to know that this is a public health problem, and we are here to all join hands and to keep our youth safe.
Right.
And
absolutely. Go ahead.
And it's not that there's not resources. Another thing that we wanted to, but you can't find a neighborhood, any of these priority neighborhoods, you will not find a neighborhood where they don't have people in those same neighborhoods that want the same things that anybody else want for their children and themselves in these neighborhoods. I mean, that's the bottom line. there's also a lot of resources that people just don't know about. So one of the things that we try to do is go in and we try to highlight these organizations that are already doing the work. There's no need to reinvent the wheel.
Exactly.
You do asset mapping and you start to figure out, wait a minute, if I'm doing the same thing that somebody else is doing, is double work. Is there some way that we could pool our money together, pool our resources? That sometimes we're interacting, we're coming in contact with some of the same people.
Right.
But because Houston, as beautiful as it is so huge. Sometimes you kind of stick to your one area and you think, okay, this is what's going to be important for me. The meeting that you came to was about actually building and bringing those different entities together,
right.
and not just saying, just stating the problem, but what are we going to do about the
Absolutely.
problem? One of the things that we were doing about the problem at the meeting that you came through is we were working on planning our Spring into Action, which is going to be on March 16th, where we have students from all over Houston that come together for one day during a spring break to have student-led workshops, student-led panels that address things like vaping, STIs, violence, bullying, cyberbullying, and that is a prime example of different organizations coming together and being able to promote something that youth are going to be receptive to. One of the things that we have to stop doing is talking at our youth. So what we are doing is we're involving the youth. You all are some of the ones that are running some of these workshops, all of the workshops. One of the biggest problems that a lot of youth have is with the HPD. I've lived in several cities. This is one of the best police organizations from Detroit to New York to LA to Chicago to North Carolina to Atlanta. Our police officers are willing to get involved here, and if our police officers are who we're having a problem with, let's bring them in too.
Let's talk about it.
Let's bring some of them into plain clothes. Let's look at them and make them human to our citizens, and also make our citizens human to some of them.
Absolutely.
And that's what we're able to do.
And recognizing everybody's responsibility in the whole process is another huge thing. Like you said, respecting them as a human being, them respecting us as human beings, and at the end of the day, understanding that we all have jobs to do and we can work together to make it happen. So at this point, because of course we'll be time restricted, we can talk all day about this. I guess again, Ms. Stephanie, and then of course Paul, you as well. Talk about what you want our listeners to hear about Houston Peace, and just any other things that is going to happen through the organization, and what you would want them to know.
Well, from the standpoint of our framework, I want the listeners to know that our planning and implementation is definitely our community matters, and my position. And as far as our team also, we're out there, we're joining with our community groups. We have a community partner, World Youth Foundation, and
shout out to World Youth.
Yes, shout out to World Youth, Lavore, we know, and we're also very thick in there, where we're addressing the holistic, youth as far as the social ecological approach, and that means that we're not only meeting them, as Paul mentioned about the resources, we are dealing with the youth in their personal context, on the micro, the meso, and the macro level.
Okay. And just a quick side note for listeners, we got a call in. I'm not sure if that was actually for the show or not, but if it was, Kenji, we can take that call if they call back, but if you'll just call back if you were intending to reach us here at the show. But Ms. Paul, did you have anything you want to
one of our website is Houston, the number 4, peace.org. You'll see a lot of our partners. We have over 30 different partners that we work with. We're in and out of the schools. We have a great partner, UTMB, that does a health curriculum called Fourth Hour, where our students are learning reading, writing, arithmetic, and relationships. So we're, as Stephanie said, we're looking at the holistic wraparound approach. One thing that I want our listeners to know is that you have a voice, and that we meet every month. And if you go on the site, you'll find out all the information about us, and understand that Houston is great because of its inhabitants. And what you have to understand is that especially in these times we live in with politically and all these tragedies going on, your life doesn't have to be a tragedy.
Right.
You do have a voice. You can come into a room and it doesn't matter if you have no degrees, 100 degrees, whether you're a single parent or got 1,000 kids and it's two parents trying to struggle, whether you're living over here in Siena somewhere and you have multi-million-dollar houses. The one thing that we all have in common is that we want we want each other to be safe.
Right.
We want each other to be healthy, and we want each other to have opportunity.
Right. Absolutely. And for anybody that's watching or on my Facebook Live, if you have any comments, I'm trying to pay attention to the comments as we go. If you have any questions, go ahead and post them while we're live, and then I'll address those questions as well. So the other thing is, for me, is that this targeted mission is what's so great to me, to where we can go into the schools, because I want to speak about this really quick. Is that about 20-30 minutes before the show, I got a phone call from one of my chess club students, and we'll kind of talk about how we'll partner on that. But her kid is at Ollie Middle School, and I will be coming over there today once I leave here, is that he's getting bullied. And so, he came home talking about $10 he needed, or else he was going to get in trouble, and, this, that, and the other. And it took them about a month to actually get out of him what the problem was, and he's seeing a therapist and stuff like that. And, of course, that just hit straight to home, because this is what you guys are trying to prevent. It's definitely what I'm trying to prevent. And then he's my chess club student. So that's like my own kid. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm going to go to the school today and, address the principal, which ironically I just met, because shout out to my son. They played a tournament over there and they won the whole tournament, but the principal was at the game. And so met her through a friend of mine who's a coach at Ollie. So the point of me saying all this is that everybody works together, and you don't know who knows who. You know what I'm saying? So you got to be careful on how you move, but at the same time, you need to be intentional on how you move and make things work together, because everybody can help everybody. So through just the point that I'm doing the chess club, of course I know what school he went to, but me and my homeboy, we talk every now and then, and then he introduced me to the principal, and now I know the counselor. And so this should be an easy transition for us to get some results, and to stop this from happening. So with that being said, what does it look like for you guys getting into the school, or who goes out to the schools, or what capacity are y'all working in the schools? Because that's kind of, for me, where it starts, not just the kids that are out on the streets. For me, that it kind of starts in the school,
Well, exactly. Well, I'm going to speak from the point of the bullying, which you just made a comment on, and being an advocate for bullying. Definitely, bullying is addressed in our strategic plan, just as any type of cyberbullying, whatever form and shape of bullying. Our programming, first of all, will begin in mid-April, and that will be enhanced with not only the schools, but also a lot of our recreations, multi-service centers, where we have dates where we're having implementation of programming. And we have themes, as Paul mentioned. All of our coalition members that are on board are willing to facilitate workshops and on every type of topic and issues that are being addressed, with our youth, and what our youth are only, wanting.
Right.
So it's twofold. I mean, everything is the prevention piece, for teen dating, youth violence, the whole kid.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to briefly say that we're very serious about keeping our youth safe, that we are having a partnership with a church, Higher Dimension church over off of Club Creek.
Right.
And that is one of our priority zip codes in 3-6. And definitely we have partnered with them to have a peace day, and we will be standing there, and people are welcome to come, and it will be from 9 o'clock until 2 p.m.
Yes. And I'll just read all the details. It's this coming Saturday, February 1st, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Higher Dimension Church. And, there are multi-location churches at the 9800 Club Creek Drive location. And then you're having a food bank, ESL classes, job fair, blood pressure screening, gaming truck for the kids, continuing education, and much, much more. And you can go onto the website of www.higherd.net and get even further information. But that's a collaboration with you and in Higher D,
Yeah,
Houston
something
Peace,
will be continued.
and it's called Peace Day. So that's going to be good. That's this Saturday. If y'all, can get out and get your kids over there, I'm sure that'll be an amazing time for those kids. Mr. Paul, did you want to?
Yeah, I'm just saying in the situation with the bullying that you were talking about, one of the things that we try to do, especially me personally, I try to look at the good side of all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, this has to be brought to the principal's attention or the student body's attention because it's something that is unfortunate.
Right.
But the thing is, we look at what infrastructure do they have in the school,
Mm-hmm.
what type of support do they have in the school, and then how do we take that support and make sure that it's still being implemented,
Carried on.
it's still being carried on. Another thing is, who is the student, and what type of activities are they involved in that prevents them from knowing how very special they are.
Right.
A lot of times we look at these problems where these kids are, like, if you talk about that could be extortion, that could be whatever. But a lot of times when these kids are doing these types of things, it also lets you know that they have the ability to think.
To communicate.
They have the ability to organize. They have the ability to influence, even
Right.
if it's negative. So when we talk about youth opportunity, at that point you say, hey, listen, do you realize that you were able to do this, and this all by yourself?
Yep.
You were able to get something out of somebody that you want. How could you have done that in a more positive way?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times when we work within these schools, especially when we're dealing with fourth hour reading, writing, what we do is we put kids in scenarios. And then we have them figure out how to deal with those scenarios. Because if there's somebody that talked to your chess student and intimidated them, I know that they weren't the only people around.
Absolutely.
I know that there were 3 or 4 other people around. So sometimes it's like I might not be able to get to that one student that was the aggressor right away. But what I can do is get to the community around them.
Power of influence.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And teach kids, and that's what we do when we go into schools. We work with other schools to kind of show kids, like, listen, you don't have to be a part of this. You can speak up and say something. There's no such thing as a snitch if somebody is hurting somebody that you care about,
Right.
and you didn't go and commit the crime with them and then telling them you're not a snitch. What you are is, if they're committing a crime, you're the person to say, hey, listen,
Yeah.
that's not what we do here.
Right.
And a lot of times, even to the principals, they have a whole bunch of stuff that they deal with. I don't even know if that's the biggest thing that's going on in their school.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know that you can, even if you triage a situation and you deal with what's the most important or what's the most violent or whatever, for you, that might be the biggest point. But for those kids, what I'm going through right now is an emergency for me.
Absolutely.
So what do I do, and what do I use as a principal? What I do is I use my whole student body
Mm-hmm.
to help me out. So that's why we have the mission statement that we do with Houston Peace. And Houston Peace is a part of a bigger idea,
Mm-hmm.
which is complete community.
Right.
So when Turner came up with complete communities, it's like, sure, we're in these priority areas, but eventually we want this energy to flow throughout the city of Houston and beyond.
Right.
And we want to be a model for other cities, whether
come
they're
up
bigger,
after.
to come up after us.
Yeah.
We want our kids to every day with that situation. The good thing is your chess student has somebody that is a voice for them. You say, after this program, I'm going right over there.
Mm-hmm.
The manner in which you go over there can mean a world of difference.
Absolutely.
We have parents that come into schools upset, and they're upset, and they go in cussing people out because guess what? They were that kid that didn't feel like they were supported or whatever. So now I'm gonna come and I'm support.
Yeah.
I'm gonna protect my kid. So what we're doing is we're changing that trajectory. Now we're coming over and saying, hey, listen, this is what I understand the school is supposed to be. This is how I can help. This is the problem that we have. Is how, as a principal, do you and for you, I have a whole coalition of people
Mm-hmm.
that can address these problems.
Yeah, and modules too.
And,
Because
yeah.
with my chess club, I'm glad you brought that point up because that's exactly what I plan to do is not only rectify the situation
Mm-hmm.
through different conversations and different people, but my main objective in my chess club is critical thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can project critical thinking and if you can understand what you're doing and the effect it's going to have later on down the line, not only with you and like you said, in that case, the student body, this individual, now he's affected his parent, now he's calling me, and then you got all these people that are getting involved in a situation that doesn't even need to be, and y'all could do things differently, but ultimately to even get him inspired to come to my chess club to make a difference because he's actually a leader. Is what he is, and kids don't really recognize these things early enough in life. And that's my thing is to get kids to recognize their abilities and their purpose early in life. Because if I would have known my purpose years ago, ain't no telling where I'll be right now,
Right.
but everybody has their own story, you know what I mean? But if my focus is to get kids to understand their purpose early enough in life to where they can begin to make that difference and make that transition, you know, earlier in life.
And utilizing what you have.
Yeah.
If a kid is able to juxtapose what they're doing in school to how that relates to life, you could teach a kid chess. When I play chess, I'm not very good. My favorite piece is the knight.
Right.
Because it looks like it's going straight and then
then
it goes left or right.
Yeah.
My whole thing is life will throw you those curves. But one of the things that you have to do in chess is to be able to see that other person's move.
Absolutely.
What we do in Houston Peace is we try to teach people, hey, let's look at the future and see what we can foresee how this could be.
Right.
So if we're talking about food deserts, then we're going into schools and we're doing aquaponics and we're growing food so that we can kind of foresee what we want our future to look like.
Yeah.
So even with the kid that's bullying your chess participant, he can foresee himself getting that $10 at the end of the day.
Right.
If that's the only kid that
Right.
But that's the thing. You have vision enough to see that this is what you wanted. And then you went about and you went to do it. But how you did it wasn't the right way.
Yeah.
Let's look at how you can get it the right way. How would you think he was getting that $10? What do you have that you can do that's worth $10
Right.
to get it back yourself? You're obviously a leader.
Yeah.
Can you lead your friends to go cut some grass?
Yeah.
Can you all rap? Can you sing? Are you reading? Are you good at science? Are you good at math? How do you monetize it?
Yeah.
And that's how you do it. Especially you dealing with chess. You do you realize you're picking on a chess kid? Let me see. I see how you made those moves. But did you know this chess piece did that move? And now they get to see themselves in what they do.
Yeah.
And now they become, now that becomes a part of them.
Right.
Now that becomes something that they can believe in. They could be through when we do SEPTED and we do all these projects in schools and all that stuff. We have them come up with the project because now they have a different type of relationship to that project.
Yeah, they're tied to it in the investment of it.
Let me know if I'm talking too much.
Oh no, you good, you good. Go ahead, Mr. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to make a mention of like our focus also too with the programming. We do know that the youth are our future, and they're a part of a family unit. And so beginning this February, from all of our priority areas, we kind of want community members to go inside of their community centers, you know, and check out our flyers. I mean, look at the resources, because we will begin with 2 town hall meetings, which is going to be February and March at all of the multi-service centers, you know, the Acres Homes, the Sunnyside, the Hearn Park, the Southwest, and basically we're going to have parents out there, we're going to have youth out there. We want to have the word out about Houston Peace, that we're here and we're helping, we're supporting. We're empowering the community members.
Right.
You know, we're not here, as Paul mentioned, you know, to reinvent anything, to take over anything. We're here as in support. You know, we're supporting, and we want to make sure that people know where to find the resources. You know, we have the website, you know, we'll be physically, you know, in the communities. We want you to come out and, you know, have some refreshments with us, you know, and then our programming too is not going to all just be, you know, work or for kids to feel that, okay, you know, I went to school. No, our after school programs will be inventive, you know, like it will be more led by youth as well. You know, they will have the chance to be creative, you know, alongside of those facilitators, you know, for it to be engaging and then also enjoyable. Yeah. Just like our spring break event.
That's good. That's good. What I wanted to do, if y'all didn't mind, is I actually want to just read off your core partners, because that's a big thing. The first core partner is Dad Chronicles. No, it's just
no,
we're gonna get connected.
No, you better say You better say World Youth.
Yeah, World Youth Foundation.
It's the first page.
Yeah.
You
absolutely.
know,
absolutely.
In the strategic plan,
absolutely.
And Miss Franklin is
absolutely. She's everywhere.
She's everywhere. She's a City of Houston employee. She's my mentor. I mean, you know, we wear several hats, so you definitely have to.
Yeah, by the way, none of these are more important than the other one. That's why we put them in alphabetical order.
Yeah.
We're all a part of when in the fraternity we say we're however many people on your line, you say you are You know, for us it's 24, so we're
Right.
24 moving parts of one big body.
Yeah. And so, and it, for me, this is for people to understand that they may be involved with one of these partners and not realizing who they're involved with, you know. So, of course, World Youth Foundation, myself, New Dad Chronicles, the Association of Advancement for Mexican Americans, Aid to Victims of Domestic Abuse, Big City, Gardner, Change Happens, City of Houston, and then a bunch of different branches under City of Houston, Crime Stoppers of Houston, Greater East End District, 5th Ward Enrichment Program, the Harris County Budget Management Department, Youth Collective, Juvenile Justice, the Attorney's Office, Healthy Living Matters, Precinct 1 Commissioner L. Franco Lee, Houston Area Women's Center, Goodwill Industries of Houston, Houston Independent School Districts, Last Organic Outpost, Prairie View A&M, the Providence on Southmore, University of Texas Medical Branch, University of Texas Prevention Research Center, and then, of course, World Youth Foundation. And, you know, they're last but first, you know, because they're close to our heart.
And it goes on.
Just alphabetical order.
And it goes on. We got Yes Prep, Urban Workforce Initiative, YMCA, Boys and Girls Club, Michael's Learning Academy, Teen and Police Service Academy, which is TAPS, which is a program where our police go into schools and they actually interact with students with a curriculum, and it goes over 8 weeks or something like that, where they do scenarios and they have an opportunity for students to talk to police and say, hey, listen, how am I going to deal with you when you killed my cousin last week?
Right.
And it kind of puts a face to the crime, to trying to, you know, so everybody gets to tell their story. Right. If you go on our website, Houston Ford, and you know the number 4 piece, it lists all of our partners, Baker Ripley, and my hope is that every single time you go back on that website, there's somebody else that's added. There's somebody else that's added, because we literally try to encompass everybody in the city of Houston, because again, one of our goals is to promote youth opportunity. If youth have access to, the more people that youth have access to, the greater the probability that they're going to choose to do that, as opposed to be in the street. Right. So Big City Gardner is a guy that we did a project with, it was a neighborhood project, and he was a gardener. He was a gardener with his family. He brought them there. It was his wife, his kids, and he was so amazed by what was going on that this man went and got involved in the Houston Health Department. Now, they didn't get involved in it. There was a group of kids from the Redirect program, who are kids that had police contact and what have you, and are turning their lives around, where he did a big city gardening project at one of the MSCs and allowed them to structure how they wanted it to. They even talked about selling some of the produce. So we're using homegrown people, pun intended, to come back and to give back and to pour back into these communities.
And MSC, because I had to ask with Stephanie, it may be new to some people. Multi-Service Center is what that is, and it's a common term. So MSC is Multi-Service Center, which I knew, but you know, when you hear it and you're talking, it's like, what is that? You know, you get lost.
All these ABCs and DMV. Another thing we talked, one of the partners that you mentioned was Prairie View. Prairie View. Why is the name of the organization slipping my mind? But we do a summer program with this organization, and I do not know why I can't think of it. Hype Freedom Schools. Hype Freedom Schools. That they go and we do our SEPTED program and our TAPS Academy program within their building, and we do that for a couple of days. With the SEPTED, there's a service learning project that goes along with it, whether they're doing a mural or they're doing planting or whatever they're doing. TAPS Academy is always scenario based, and it decreases the distance between police officers and students in a positive way. They then take that. We partner with Prairie View. This is their justice School of Public Justice in Prairie View, that actually came in and said, hey, we hear you have a group. They were part of our coalition. Why don't you bring them up to Prairie View and we can show them what we do here? So they go up there. They do mock trials. They do scavenger hunts. Man, we actually, quick story, we go up there. There's 2 kids from Hype Freedom Schools that are kind of fighting, and we're kind of bullying this one girl. So I started telling them, I said, you never know who that young lady is going to be. you might want to think about being a friend as opposed to bullying them. It just so happened we had a mock trial where they actually have a real trial that happened, a real scenario. They have the kids get to be attorneys. They go to their separate. They have a real courtroom up there. They view the material and all that stuff. So we had some of the kids that were bullying this girl on the bus. And you know what happened? I said, hey, why don't you be the judge today? So now they got to argue their point in front of this girl that they just got done bullying. And I'll tell you, their closing statement was a whole lot different than I think it would have been had she not been a judge.
Absolutely. Quick question from one of my listeners. And what's up, Daryl? It says, will the police officers that are helping, are they a part of that particular community that you're moving around in?
Yes. That's one of the things that we try to make sure that they are part of that community. One of the things he may be alluding to is community policing. A lot of the officers that we have, if they're not from that community, they're from a rival community, which is even better. Because a lot of times some of these police officers have been in the military and then they decide to come home and help with Houston. So yeah, they understand. They are capable of doing it. And I'll tell you this, if they're not part of the community, that's also great, because it gives them an opportunity to come into the community and be a part of the community. One of the things we need community policing. We need community policing. That's great. But what happens if I'm from Michigan, I move to Houston, I want to be a police officer, and I'm not of any of these communities? One of the first things that I want to do is I want to introduce myself through the schools and through just going into the communities and being able to now become a part of the community. We don't alienate people just because they're not part of the community. What we do is make sure that if they are not part of the community, they respect that. They respect the community. The best way for our police officers to be able to respect the community is also if the community comes to the police officers. That's why you use your MSCs. That's why we're having these town halls.
And then another part about that, as far as with the policing and stuff, part of our programming and will be some national police night outs. So we are partnering, with the police officers in those different communities where new community members that are just coming in, they'll get also a chance to meet the police, face to face. So as Paul said, most definitely. And we are already going through the neighborhoods and all of our priorities. So I do need to shout out to my volunteer coordinator, Miss Tisha Flint. She's doing a great job. She's out there recruiting. So if you see anyone coming in your neighborhood with flyers about Houston Peace and everything, get on board. It's all good. We're empowering you. We want our community members to be involved, to be engaged, because we have to do this all together.
And we want our kids to be entertained as well. That's why on the 16th when we have this thing, it's not just lecturing. It's not that. I mean, we have the police officers that come in and they do drunk driving simulations where you got these drunk driving glasses on and you're driving these cars and you're playing different games and you kind of see what it's really like to be impaired. We also a concert at the end of the day. We're trying to bring local artists in. One thing that life is about, for me, part of my purpose is to make sure that I have as much fun as I can.
Absolutely.
In the safest way possible. And we want those kids. That's all your kids want to do. They want to be happy. And when I say kids, I speak to our youth, but I also speak to the youth that is often lost inside of us as adults because we didn't have programs like this. So because we have this program, find your inner child. Find your way to connect with your family and with your community.
And I tell people that all the time is think about what you didn't have when you were younger. That's going to give you the roadmap to connect with these kids that are out here today. It's just so many different scenarios of why things are the way they are, but that's a powerful thing. If you just connect back to yourself what you had, or even if you had it, that's the other thing, then you should be able to give that back. But I just want to kind of segue back to you, Ms. Stephanie, in regards to the MSCs and the different places that you are going to find and actually bring Houston Peace and other things to those locations within inside the communities, which goes back to, like, I guess your task or your responsibility with the city of Houston, if you'll speak on that.
Yes, well, on the programming part, I am to apprise, all community members, and just to get them to come out, get engaged, to meet myself, to meet other team members that are there, just to have a dialogue, to understand that we're not only here for today or next week and we're gone. No, this is a city effort. you know, and we have people in place that are very intentional about keeping our youth safe, you know, and addressing, you know, the ills. And I want to mention about chess. You know, I was a chess champion, you know, in middle school, but I was bullied. And bullying to me is very, very personal to my heart. And that's why I have joined, you know, the mayor's team, not only but my community, because community matters to me. And I definitely know that we need to just come together, you know, united, you know, to make sure that any person, you know, out there, whether they're visiting, you know, just kind of know about our programs, and I mean, come down and join us.
Right.
So
absolutely,
one of a great example about instituting and promoting change is this show. It's absolutely this show. The very fact that it came from you being invited to an event, I mean,
the meeting,
a meeting, taking that information, being vocal at that meeting, inviting us here, mixed with what you do as a man, what you do as a Houstonian, and what you do as a black man, it makes a difference.
I appreciate that.
And it's not about, one of the things that we're not about is meeting just to meet.
Right.
We not the
That's a waste of time.
We not the after school. If you trying to be a PTA person that just want to come and write it on your resume, it's probably not the place for you.
Absolutely.
Another thing is, we're not dictators. It's not, I run a meeting and what I say goes. It's what's going to be best for the community. How passionate are you about it, and how much time do you need to put in it, or do you think you can put in it?
Right.
I somebody asked me to do something, volunteered somewhere, and I say, hey, listen, I can do it if I can bring my kids with me. If I can't bring my kids with me, I can give you an hour of my time. They say, you mean you can only give me an hour of your time? Time is money.
Absolutely.
Time is money. If you can give me 15 minutes, that 15 minutes with somebody from your neighborhood seeing you, you know, everybody got camera phones and all that stuff. One snap, oh, Stephanie was at there. I look up to her. Then maybe they're coming out. 15 minutes, 5 minutes, because what happens is once you start seeing things grow and change, that 15 minutes is going to make you want to stay 30.
I caught something the other day on that very point, is that, and I forget where this was, but I moving around so much, but there was a gentleman that was, my sister Mika Diamond. Shout out to Mika Diamond.
Hey, don't forget
no, it's the guest. It was the guest that was on the show, and he made a statement. I forget which day of the week it was this week, but he made a statement that if you want something to change or grow, it needs to involve youth. And if you're not involved in the youth, then it's not going to make a change. It's not going to grow, because they are not the future. They're the now that is going to predict the future.
Absolutely.
You know, and so that stuck with me when he said what he said at that time. And, you know, that was just something that just resonated with inside of me. And
it's
so,
one word that we a lot of times we overlook. We overlook it, but we strive for it. And a lot of times for us religious and spiritual folks, we pray for it. When people say, God, hold me and keep me, what they're really saying is, my higher power, or whatever my purpose is, I want to be able to sustain the way, I want to be able to grow and sustain that growth.
right.
And what we do when we're dealing with youth is, first of all, youth are the seed. You know, you plant the seed, and you allow them to grow. Our job as community leaders in these different organizations is, all we can continue to do is water those seeds and pull out those weeds.
Right.
And sometimes pulling out those weeds, there's thorns and everything else. But our kids, if we give them that, they're going to grow into adults who are going to then drop seeds themselves, and then those seeds, and then they're going to continue that
it's
process.
all about what you plant. If you're planting something bad gonna grow. You know, you plant something good is gonna grow. You know, it's not about the water you're putting on it. It's not about the time that you're putting into it, but it's what did you plant. For me, is what's gonna determine what's gonna grow. You know, because that's another stand, is that if I put a watermelon seed in the ground, I cannot keep watering it and nurturing it like there's an apple that's gonna grow up out of there. It's gonna be a watermelon all day long. You know, so. This is a good, and again, in respect of time, I want to switch over to the preventing the youth violence, you know, Houston Peace, everything we've talked about. And shout out to my mother. I want to address her being here in the studio. This is my mom here. But her statement was, is there an age limit? And this is not transition, but I want to address this question really quick. Is there an age limit for the youth that partake in Houston Peace and the different...
Houston Peace is everybody, all ages in Houston. Primarily for our CDC grant, it's ages 10 through 24. For our spring into action, we're doing 7th grade through 12th grade, just because some of the material may be kind of iffy for kids. But yeah, so Houston Peace is from age 0 to age 100.
Gotcha.
In one.
And that translates into
that
MBK, right?
Right, because and that's another part that I also
my brother's keeper.
My brother's keeper.
MBK.
Yes, because as a community member and also our team, we do work within the ecosystem of MBK. You know, even though they have their, milestones and they're working with, primary education and early, Head Start, we all still are a large conglomeration, of a team, together. But my mantra is that we together, we all are social change agents. That's what people need to own.
Understand.
Own it, because we're only a, part of an entity, but we are empowering the community, like the community members as a whole.
And again, the Bureau of Youth and Adolescent Health is an umbrella, and MBK, My Brother's Keeper, is a national known agency or entity that is, we have a Houston branch of it, so they're under the umbrella. One of the things that we do at the health department is, we have aging and we have HIV and all of these different departments. One of the things that we are working on doing and that we continue to do and continue to get better at is working within our own departments, because we're the lifeblood. We're part of the lifeblood of Houston. So from age infant to all the way to aging, we want to make sure that these things are being addressed. We tackle a lot of the milestones that are included in the Houston Health Department. So again, it's all like a cyclical, right? So it's all a cycle that we all kind of feed into each other. One of the things that helps to feed into our cycle are people like your viewers right now. And I keep giving you this, I keep giving you praise, and I do mean this. And I hope your mom is listening, because she did a good job. But
by herself.
Right. She by herself, she did it. But the thing is, to have your listeners and everybody else feed into the conversation, because again, that conversation.
Say that again, brother. Say it again.
To feed into the conversation,
absolutely.
Because that conversation.
So those calls in, the comments, they're not overlooked. Sometimes, you'll get to see other shows, but there's times where I can't get to the comments, but it produces and it ignites conversation later, and it's ongoing.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate
that. And I'm a
very
very spiritual person. It's like, I believe that the God of my understanding just wants to be talked about.
Right.
Because you never know what that could be.
Praise and worship.
And that's my thing. I just want to be talked about, even if you don't agree with me. Whether you call him Jesus Christ, Allah, Baha'u'llah, you're in the Torah, the Bible, whatever it is, God just wants to be talked about. Just wants to be acknowledged.
Recognized,
Because what happens is, once you open yourself up to the possibility of something different, then that's when the change starts to come. So when your viewers open themselves up to the possibility of, watching this show. Watching it, endorsing it, tweeting it out.
Absolutely.
What they're doing is, people like, everybody get on Twitter and they want to tweet, and that's not making a difference. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Every second that you spend hearing about somebody that's doing something good is worth it. Every second you spend hearing about somebody that's doing something bad is worth it, because now you know what good you can interject into that bad to transform it.
Right. And so today's thing that I want on all social media platforms, anybody that's listening, please share hashtag Houston Peace. What do you think about that? Hashtag Houston Peace. You don't have to say nothing. Just hashtag Houston Peace. I want to see it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram,
As a matter
Snapchat,
of fact,
all that.
If we could do hashtag Houston, the number 4 Peace. .com. Then they're not only going to understand the spirit of Houston, but they can actually click and see some information and see how they can get involved.
So
hashtag
Houston spelled out,
Yep, spelled out.
Okay, four, the
Four,
number
the
four,
number four.
and peace.
And just throw them. No,
Chunking up the deuce. You know,
Right,
hey,
right.
screw here till I'm dead. I'm sorry. Hey, it is what it is. But no,
Join us.
HoustonForPeace.com. That can
Dot
and
org,
then
dot org, yeah.
And you can click on that and get information. Did you have something to say? I want to kind of say.
Yeah, I'm
saying. Did
yeah.
you want to speak on anything?
No, the only thing I want to say is we're not working in silos. We are a large team.
Right.
I mean, even we could be a team where we're working, you know, in another organization, you know, but we come together.
Coalition.
You know, so
Coalition.
yeah, coalition. That's what coalition. I've been traveling with Paul and, you know, the rest of the team, you know, for 3 years, but I wasn't exactly, you know, on ground doing the work that they did now, but we came back together, you know,
Absolutely.
collaborating. And so, I mean, it's even, I call it even greater, you know, by
Right.
the power of our God, you know,
Right.
our creator.
Right.
Yeah.
And thank you, Ms. Dawn Keys. She is our first person to hashtag the Houston Dawn Keys. And
Dawn
Keys.
she's a Kiari warrior, and she's
Okay,
somebody that I'm
shout
trying
out
to get
to
on my
you.
show. I know you're
Oh,
looking.
wow.
So, but she deals with a whole nother situation. So I appreciate that, sweetheart. What I want to segue into was we're talking about the kids, and we're talking about preventing violence. Houston HoustonForPeace.org. But my thing is, it starts with the parents.
That's
What
I'm saying
message
all the
do
time.
y'all have for the parents? Because we can tell the kids this all day long, but it's going to take an adult or a legal guardian or somebody for those younger kids to get them involved in something like this. And what parents want is a babysitter sometimes, or you know, they want an excuse to drop them off. But how can they benefit more than, of course, their kids getting involved? Something great. What can the parents look forward to by getting their kids involved and actually showing up?
One of the things that I think, as a parent myself, I've seen that the more involvement I have with my kids' activities, the better performing they're going to be. The more I'll be able to understand them. Sometimes I'll be like, I got a 17-year-old daughter that's the most beautiful, brilliant person on this planet. One of them. But I'm like,
Yeah,
man,
I don't say mine is too.
right. but sometimes I'm like, man, I don't understand why she's thinking this way.
Right.
And then I got a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
And I realized that if I'm watching what he's watching, then we're relating to each other.
Absolutely.
If I'm where he is, then we're relating to each other. 5 and 17.
Mm-hmm.
I do enough activities with my daughter that I can get to know her friends, that I can get to know the people that are around her. Here with this thing that we're doing on the 16th, there's also ways that parents can get involved. A lot of parents say, I don't have the time.
Right.
And I'll tell you this, one thing is that you get out of what you put into it.
Absolutely.
This is an investment.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine this. Somebody say, hey, listen, you got a winning lotto ticket, $350 million. Here goes the ticket. You can have this. Here you go. Oh, by the way, the only place that you can cash it in is Dallas. Guess what that parent is going to do?
They're going to get to that.
They're going to find a way,
Mm-hmm.
no matter how it is.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they say, oh, you got to get there on your own energy.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to find a way, because what they're saying...
They'll be like this the whole way
Yeah,
down
yeah,
the
yeah,
highway.
yeah.
Take me as far as I can go.
But you know why? Because what they're doing is they're seeing themselves
future.
in their head. They're saying, I'm going to get this. I'm going to be able to do this. I ain't going to have to work no more. I'm not going to flip another burger. I done got burnt by the grease at the Jack in the Box. I'm going to go tell my boss where he could go,
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
So I would tell parents, see it as that. Start to envision where your kids are going to go. The likelihood is either this: you either pay on the front end or you pay on the back end.
Mm-hmm.
The more involved you are in the front end earlier
forward.
on, the less that you have to worry in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing is, when we talk about parents, don't think that you have to be this kid's biological parent,
Be a mentor.
mentor, grandmother, uncle.
Or just somebody who cares.
Just somebody
You
who
don't
cares.
even have to be anything. Just be somebody who cares.
Because you think about it, a lot of these kids that are great with sports, their parents come out.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot of these kids that are going to be recognized somewhere, whether they're on America's Got Talent or whatever,
Yeah.
their parents come out.
Yeah.
So
The main
it's an investment.
the main thing I want to let everyone know that when our programming does start and begin, I mean, family are welcome. I mean, we want you to know that we are here to provide, programming, for your youth, fun activities, just engaging. I mean, to keep them safe. And, I mean, what kid doesn't love coming to a program and they're going to eat and even get some incentives? I mean, it's still a family thing. I mean, it has to be. I mean, I'm a mother of 4. I mean, my husband supports me 100%. I mean, I wouldn't be able to do what I do if I didn't have that support, from my family.
Absolutely.
And my children are involved. So where we're saying Houston Peace, you see the pictures of the youth, but yes, they come from a family unit.
Absolutely.
And so you're welcome. Come to the town hall meetings, come to the programming, come and get involved.
Right.
I mean, that's why we have volunteer, that are out there, trying to get everyone involved.
Yeah. Don't be afraid. Fear is crippling. And we often talk ourselves out, I don't want to do this, and I don't even want to go to half this stuff that my kids do. But what I realize is if I could just get up and just get there. If I could just get there.
You leave with a whole different attitude.
If I could just get there.
Yeah.
And the thing, fear is crippling. Don't be afraid of what you may encounter. Just get there.
So, for the listeners, of course, time is winding down. I got to be respectful of the time. Before I make any closing remarks, is there anything you want to say? I want you to tell the people your name and who you are again with Houston Peace, and just anything you want to say closing.
No,
you go ahead. Go
okay.
first.
Well, I'm Stephanie Colligan, Ishola again, and I'm the Community Involvement Coordinator. So you will be seeing my face a lot in the communities, and it won't be for a weekend or, like a one day, like
consistent.
Hi, bye. It will be on a consistent basis, and I just want to say, get involved. We're here to make our youth safe,
Absolutely.
And community matters.
Absolutely.
Again, Paul Johnson with the Houston Health Department, Bureau of Youth and Adolescent Health. And yeah, just come out. I'll tell you this, parents, we believe in you. We love you. We care about you. We understand that it's not always easy, but what we want you to know is that you're not alone and that you have a whole city that's behind you. Your kids are an investment, and your kids are our kids, and we just want to give them the opportunity.
Absolutely, absolutely. I appreciate you guys from the bottom of my heart. And you're saying when programming starts up, when does the date for the programming starting up again?
It's starting up in April, but our town hall meetings are beginning in February the 10th, at the multi-service centers in Acres Homes, Sunnyside, and also Herm Clark.
Okay.
So just
and
step
they can
into
find the information.
The flyers
for
will
the
be there.
Houston4peace.org.
Yes.
Houston4peace.org.
Check it.
Houston4peace.org.
Yes.
Hashtag that all day today. Spread the good word.
Yeah.
And just in the words of my mom, she was saying that good soil will produce good fruit. So this is good soil. So if you plant your kids down in this World Youth Foundation, Dad Chronicles, all the different entities that come along with this movement, you can't go wrong. So so for me, again, I want to thank everybody for listening. This is the Reach Podcast, where every show reaches beyond the ears of the listeners. And I thank you guys again for being here today.
Oh,
all right, appreciate it. Y'all have a good one. God bless.